Welcome, everyone. Amber Hefner, Executive Director of Illinois Digital Educators Alliance. And I am very excited and looking forward to learning alongside our partners from CodeHS today. I am always intrigued about coding. It is certainly not my strong point, so I'm always amazed at what people can do. And I'm also putting myself in out of my comfort zone, I guess, and understanding that this is definitely something with the new learning standards in Illinois and the requirements for computer science, that this is an area that we can all be learning more about together. So welcome to our session, and I am just going to do a quick introduction to Leah Sloan and Lori Goldale from CodeHS. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks, Amber. So I'm thrilled to be here with all of you today. Both Leah and I are thrilled to be here with all of you today. And we are coming to you to talk about web design today. This is actually one of my favorite topics. And I know there's definitely some debate. Like, is this real coding or is this a part of computer science? And I would absolutely say, yes, it is. Sometimes this is the entry point that students need. So I'm very happy to be here with you today to talk about web design and CodeHS. So just a little bit of background, just in case we haven't met at another workshop. My name is Lori, and I've been with CodeHS for, oh my gosh, I think I'm well over a year and a half at this point. But prior to being at CodeHS, I was actually in the classroom for about 20-ish years. I was a technology director for a K-12 school district in South Dakota. And for about 10 of those years, I was also a high school computer science teacher, but I did a lot of other computer science work with my middle school kids, where I did Girls Who Code, did some tech clubs, did some HTML and web design with them, and did some with the elementary as well. So I got to branch out and be with a large group of kids, so broad array of kids. Leah, I'm going to toss it over to you for a minute. You can tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right, thanks, Lori. My name is Leah Sloan. I'm the Director of Professional Development here at CodeHS. I have been with CodeHS for a little over 3.5 years total. And I too was a classroom teacher for 14 years. Of those 14 years, 8 of them I taught computer science, everything from what we're going to look at tonight, web design like HTML, CSS, all the way through APCSA. Loved teaching web design because it allowed students to really bring in a lot of creativity. And I think that's a really solid entry point, and it's a good hook for students. I too agree with Lori that it is definitely computer science in the computer science realm, because students have to use thinking like decomposition and break down parts of their web page into smaller portions. They have to use some computational thinking, problem solving, testing, debugging. So I 100% believe that it is coding, and it's a real thing, and it's an exciting way to start learning computer science. So I'm going to turn it back to Lori, and thanks for joining us tonight, everybody.
All right, thanks, Leah. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to toss an attendance link into chat. If you'd like to go ahead and take a moment to click that for us. We are not collecting any information, I promise. It's just a quick little, yep, you were here, and that's all we are collecting there. So that would be great if you could click that. And actually, I might have, oh, look at that. It's the last thing on my clipboard, so I'll go ahead and drop that into chat for us. I couldn't remember what the last thing was, so I guess that worked out. Let's go ahead and jump into teaching web design with CodeHS. So we are going to have you join a demo section today that we've set up for our webinar, and that will hold some of the curriculum that we have in the CodeHS course catalog. And then we're also going to be going over the some of the course overviews as well. I'll be taking a look at the different versions of CodeHS that we have available, and web design that we have available, and talking about some of the smaller units that we have too. Let's see. I just had a little glitch. Is everybody hearing me yet? Leah, can you hear me? Okay. Amber can hear. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So then we're also going to take a look at how lessons are set up. We're going to talk about another really cool feature, the CodeHS.me pages, or the websites that you can actually host or use that are hosted by CodeHS. So we have a lot that we want to talk about today. While we're getting into this, if you'd like to go ahead and just toss your name into chat, introduce yourself. If you'd like to tell me your name, tell me a little bit about what you teach, and if you've ever used CodeHS, that would be awesome. So you can go ahead and toss a quick intro into chat. That would be super helpful. And while we're doing that, I'm also going to mention that if you do have a CodeHS educator account, you can go ahead and sign in, because you will need to be signed in to access the demo section. All right. Should have mentioned the intro thing right away. I wasn't even thinking about it. Honestly, I was thinking about web design and getting very excited about this. I love web design. I've actually taught a lot of different programming classes. Python's one of my favorites. Web design is one of the other favorites of mine. I know some Java and taught a little bit of that, but didn't get to do APCSA. I know JavaScript, a few other languages in there too. But I've taught a lot of different courses that we'll talk about a little bit today with web design. All right, so hello, Jason. You teach 6th grade math, but like to bring enrichment activities into study hall or math class. I love that idea. Jason, I think I'm going to show you some cool stuff that you can use in your math classes today, including HTML. So that is excellent. And Leah just tossed into chat the link to go ahead and sign up for a CodeHS educator account. If you don't have one, it is completely free. So please sign up if you have not already. Hello. All right. So we have SPED, Chicago Public Schools. Hello. No coding experience. Well, let me tell you something. With my particular background, I actually had no coding experience either. I had no technology experience basically before I became an IT director. In what is now feels like a lifetime ago, I was an English teacher. So the reason I know any coding at all is because of CodeHS. Perfect. And Spanish. This is excellent. I am so excited for the group of teachers who we have with us today. This is awesome. So I'm definitely hoping I can show you some cool things that you can do with CodeHS. And I'm telling you, the only thing I ever learned in school as far as coding, when I went back to get my master's in educational technology, I took a class in Visual Basic, which I think I maybe taught once and then thought, no, we're going to do other things. And I had an HTML class and that was it. Everything else, I credit the CodeHS curriculum for learning. So, and we can talk about that if you have questions about, well, how do I use CodeHS to learn this? All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. Leah had just tossed this link into chat, codehs.com/signup. So if you don't have a CodeHS account, go ahead and browse out to this URL and you can sign up for a free educator account. I will tell you that there you can absolutely access everything that we're going to be doing today through the free account. There is a pro plan and it's awesome. There's a lot of cool tools. I will say I used CodeHS in my own classroom from 2014 to 2019 completely on the free plan. I was never one of the schools that got to purchase it. So you can absolutely do everything on free. All right, so I'm going to slowly go ahead just in case anybody needs to make that account yet. So once you create the account, okay, once you have your educator account or you've signed in with your educator account, I would love it if you could browse out to this URL, codehs.com/go/FBF0A. And Leah has tossed that into chat as well. So once you're signed in, go ahead and click that link. That link is going to enroll you in the demo section for today. I'll give you just a minute to do that. And while we're doing that, I'm actually going to pop out. If you're not familiar with CodeHS, we're not going to go through the platform too much. You'll see more from the student side of things, but you'll start to get an idea of how things are set up in CodeHS. Looks like we have a couple people enrolled in the section already. Thank you for doing that. And we'll be watching from the back end to make sure that you are able to enroll in this. If you do have any questions, go ahead and drop a note into chat, and Leah can help you get enrolled in this section. All right, I'll do one more refresh. What you're seeing right now is my sections page. This is my view from a teacher perspective. And you can see all the teachers that are in this section. And then I can see my entire roster of students. So students wouldn't be able to see this part. All right. Okay, so I'm going to slowly start going ahead. If you need some help getting in that section, don't hesitate to ask. We've got some really cool activities in there that I'd love to show you and love to have you try out today during our webinar. All right, so before we get into, okay, so what's in that demo section, I want to talk a little bit about web design and the web design courses that are available on CodeHS. We actually have a lot that's available, so we'll talk about what we can see in that course catalog and how we would end up using that. So in order to get out to the course catalog, you can go to codehs.com/course/catalog. Don't feel like you have to go to that right now. It's totally fine if you want to just watch for right now and see, okay, what she got to show us. We can always browse out to this again later and give you a chance to take a look at everything. So we actually, just jump back to that page. This is actually a GIF that I made of the course catalog. There is a lot of courses. When I started using CodeHS back in, when did I say, 2014, there were definitely not this many courses. And I think it's over 55, but I'm pretty sure it's closer to 65. And there's a lot of different web design courses available as well. All right, so some of the main web design courses that we have are these three that I've listed on this slide. You'll see that they're called web design, but they have these different names at the end, so different artists. And those are just some different flavors. And we'll talk about some of the different things that are available in each of these. So the one that I always think about that has probably a lot of the content built in right away is this web design Picasso version. This is a high school version of the course. And it has, let me go ahead and open it up. It has a lot of different units in it. This is the overview page of the Picasso, Web Design Picasso course. You can see web design here. We can actually see the syllabus for every one of our courses. You'll have a syllabus available. It is high school level, about 140 contact hours, and it is designed to be a year-long course. What we're seeing here are all the units that are available in Picasso. These are actually the units, some of the units that I pulled into our demo section for today. And so you'll see we have a getting started unit, and then we have an HTML and structuring websites unit. This is where we really start with the HTML and the coding side of web design. It goes into CSS, and then we have a project, and then there's some advanced HTML and CSS, a project. And if you have those students who are thinking, wow, I'm really doing great on this, and you need to give them a little bit more, Bootstrap is also included in this. You can actually add that into any of the courses, but it's right away built into the Picasso version. Then we have a designing user interfaces and a final project. So this is the general overview of Picasso. And I'm actually going to just jump over to the course catalog right now too, instead of hopping back to the slides. So we have the Picasso version. And this is what our course catalog looks like. I'm going to go ahead and filter for web design. So there's Picasso. Then we have Matisse. Matisse is geared toward more of a middle school level, and it's approximately 160 contact hours, and it is designed to be a year long. And if we take a look at the units here, you'll see many of the same units. It's just set up a little bit differently. There's also supplemental units in every single one of our web design courses. So if you need a little bit more, you can grab that. Notice Bootstrap is one of our supplemental units here. Then we also have a Monet version of web design as well. And this one is, I think, a semester long. Yep. High school level, semester long course. So just set up a little bit differently depending on the time that you have available. Now, if we keep looking at all the courses that are available here, you'll see there's one other web design that I did not include on the slide, and that is the Dolly. And this one is designed to be a quarter long for middle school students. And so we've definitely done a lot of that tweaking in case you want to use some of our content or some of our courses straight out of the box. And I think Leah mentioned too in chat that any of our courses are customizable. And it doesn't matter if you are a free or pro teacher, you can customize the courses to fit your needs. So now if you take a look, we've also got some other courses here too that showed up when I searched for web design. I have this computing ideas course. This course actually has a unit in it on web design. And if I pull up the units, you'll see them here. We have a lot of different units here. It's more of a survey type course. Intro to Programming with Carol the Dog. And so if you want to introduce your students to a little bit of JavaScript, this is a great way to do that. There's a what is computing, some projects, and then the web design module is here. That module is going to include things like that introduction to HTML, intro to CSS, a little bit of advanced CSS and HTML, and some things like that. One of the ways that I've actually used computing ideas, and I'll talk more about this in a little bit, but one of the ways that I actually used this in my own classroom was with the Exploring Computer Science curriculum. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is. I actually still have my book. ECS, so the Exploring Computer Science curriculum is a great survey curriculum. And I really wanted a way to put it on a platform to deliver it to my kids. And so I used CodeHS for that. Web design is one of the modules that really benefited from moving over to CodeHS. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit too. So Computing Ideas has that web design module. There's also Creative Computing, which has a web design module as well. And then there's some other things like tech apps and coding and some state courses as well. But one thing I wanted to show you too is there is an hour of code module here. So I know some of you are, coming from a different subject where you just want to introduce your kids to some coding. So this hour of code module might be a great starting point. You can definitely create a section, add your students to that, and have them work through this much shorter web design unit to really give them a taste for what is in web design. This is a great introduction to web design. And just because we do have some teachers coming to us from other subjects, I want to show you this too. Let me clear out that filter and click on interdisciplinary in the filter. And you can take a look. We do have some coding explorations in sports, art, music. A couple of our new ones are math and science as well. So we definitely have some of those interdisciplinary options too. Okay, so that is a very quick overview of some of the web design courses that we have available in the course catalog. So we looked at the Picasso, Matisse, Monet, and Dolly versions of web design, and some of those other courses that include web design in them as well, like Computing Ideas, Creative Computing, Tech Apps and Coding. And then there is a web development course as well. So if you get those students who really want to, they're the high flyers who want to really go with this and make a really cool website or a portfolio website, you can do that. Then there is the hour of code web design as well. All right, are there any questions about any of this so far? And if you want to see that course catalog, you can browse out to codehs.com/course/catalog to see the full array of courses that are available from CodeHS. And I think I mentioned before, but I'll just say it again. You do not have to be on the Pro plan to access all of these courses. All of the content in the courses, all of the activities, everything is available to teachers on the free plan. All right. So some ways that we can use the CodeHS web design curriculum. I wanted to talk just a little bit more about this before we get into the actual section itself. So one of the ways we can use this is as an introductory kind of module. One of the things that I love so much about web design is that it's so very accessible, and it's a great entry point into computer science for kids. And frankly, it's a great entry point for anybody. I learned this at the same time that I was learning Visual Basic, and I thought, okay, I really understand HTML. It's taking me a little bit more to get Visual Basic, but it is a fabulous entry point, and especially for those kids who are really creative and want to design, this is an awesome tool. So for the hour of code and just using it for exploration, it doesn't have to be computer science ed week to use an hour of code. You can use that anytime. So you can definitely use the web design curriculum for that. You can also use the web design unit for other curricula like exploring computer science. And that's exactly what I did in my case. I absolutely used exploring computer science as an introductory level, a survey computer science class for our high school students. The problem that I ran into is that there's this great web design unit, but I didn't have a platform to actually teach computer science. I was a Chromebook school and I couldn't install anything. I had to find some web-based tool. And what I decided to use was CodeHS, because essentially you have an LMS and can add in any curriculum you want. And so I absolutely used the web design units for my exploring computer science class. It was fabulous. And we'll talk about some of the supports that are actually built in when we get into the course itself. You can also use it for after school clubs. I think I mentioned that I did some after school club work with, I did it with, I think 4th through 12th grade, but the middle school kids were the ones who really didn't have computer science. And so they were the ones that really loved having those after school clubs, whether it's a tech club, a coding club, a design club, or Girls Who Code club. That's a really great option to use this web design with as well. For quarter or semester long middle school courses, and of course for semester or full year high school courses as well. All right, any questions? I am keeping one eye on chat, so if I miss something, somebody go ahead and yell at me. Lori, settle down. Just please look at chat for a second. So go ahead and toss your questions into chat if you have any. All right, so we're going to take a look at web design in Picasso. So the reason that I focused on this is just because it has like probably some of the more advanced topics in it too. So if you really want to explore, I thought, yeah, we're going to pull in Picasso and see what we have here. So the units that we included today in our demo section are these 5 that you see on the screen. Right now we have this getting started. What is the web? Which is more of an introduction just to the internet. What is the web? What are browsers? What are web pages? And then it goes into HTML and structuring websites. And that's the first unit that we'll see in Picasso. And that's really where you are going to, start getting into HTML and the basics of a web page structure. Then CSS and styling those websites, making them pretty, putting that makeup on the web page. And there's a project to create your own homepage, and then some advanced topics. Some of those other units include Project Tell a Story, Bootstrap, which is definitely a little bit more complex. I'm not sure if I'm totally friends with Bootstrap yet, but it is really amazing because you can do a lot of amazing things in HTML and CSS with Bootstrap. There's a project, designing user interfaces, and final project. What you will see in our demo section are these first 5 units today. All right, so we're going to get into our first lesson, and we're going to talk about this lesson, Introduction to HTML. We're actually going to skip past the what is the internet. We're going to take a look at the lesson structure behind Intro to HTML. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and jump out to our course. And this is the course that you've all enrolled in. This is actually the teacher view. And so rather than seeing the teacher view, we'll come back to this in a little bit and I'll show you how to do a few things there. But I'm going to go to the student view because that's the really cool thing about CodeHS is that when you are the teacher, you don't have to have two accounts. You can actually toggle between your teacher account and your student account. So you can always see what your students are seeing. Now, in case anybody is feeling like, okay, I enrolled, but I don't know how to get into this section now, there's a couple of ways to do it. You might see a toggle over here on the left-hand side of your screen. If it says teacher, you can drop that down and change it to student, or you can always click on My Sections at the top of your page. And when you do that, I'll have quite a few things here. You'll have a few less probably, which is okay. I need to do a little cleanup on mine. If you look down towards the bottom of the list, you're going to see student page, and you can find any of the courses you've enrolled in as a student. By the way, all of those courses that we looked at on the course catalog, if you are interested in learning JavaScript, you can always enroll in it and actually work through that course too, even with your teacher account. Okay, sorry, a little sidetrack. So again, if you need to access it, you can click on My Sections, go down to student page and click on the course from here. All right, and the course this is the name of it, Teaching Web Design, October 2021. So the basic layout of a course, and this is exactly what your students would see if they're enrolled in one of your courses. This is what they're going to see. They're going to see all of the units that are included in this course. Now, what I've included here are the very first 5 units from the Web Design Picasso course. What is not included in that is this webinar resources. And this is actually something that I added the exact same way you could add it. And you do not have to be a pro teacher to do that. You can add your own modules and add your own content as well. And so you can access the slides directly from this section. And so those are embedded here. I'm going to go ahead and open those in a new tab. We'll just see how many tabs Lori can open throughout the course of this webinar. There we go. Sorry, my Zoom's it's taking me a little bit to catch up with Zoom here. There we go. So you can actually embed slides. So you'll have access to all those slides. You can even see any speaker notes that might be in here and any of the links that I might have included there. So you can access all of those. And there will be an end of workshop survey. And I've actually embedded that here too. So you can do all that as a teacher as well. And then I chose to just add these first 5 modules. You can actually choose to do that, and you can rearrange these. You can delete some if you don't like them. If you want something entirely different, maybe you don't want the project, you don't have to add that. So completely customizable, whether you are a free or a pro teacher. Let's see, Christina asked, does this use student information? So students do need to add, I'm trying to think of what all gets added there. So Leah, if I'm leaving something out, let me know. There will be, they'll have to have their own accounts, but we definitely have privacy policies in place to ensure that none of that private student data is leaked or is used in any way that is not appropriate. Yes, we are absolutely SOPA compliant. For sure. And we can get you more information on that if you'd like. So that is a great question. I appreciate that you asked that. Thank you. All right. So when we're taking a look at this first page, students are going to be seeing all the units that are available to them. Now, when I expand one of these, and I'm going to come down here and you can all follow me with this, I'm going to look at HTML and structuring websites. We can expand this and we can see all of the lessons that are available. Now, remember, you don't have any restrictions on a free account. You will not be restricted in the number of lessons you can see. You get access to all of those activities. So you see the lessons. And then over here on the right-hand side, all these little bubbles, I'll go ahead and expand that a little bit or maximize it. You'll see that these little activity bubbles are all of the activities that are included in the lessons. It's a little bit hard to see maybe on my screen, especially with that yellow, but you'll start to notice there's some different icons here. There is a little camera that indicates that is the video. There is a check mark to indicate a quiz, a little dog-eared page to indicate an example, and then a pencil to indicate an activity. Now, if I want to expand that view, I can click the plus sign to expand. Then I don't have to mouse over the activity bubbles. And I can actually click on one of these activities to access any of these. There is a next assignment icon up at the top. Sometimes this is helpful, but sometimes, especially for a workshop, this might not be where I need to go yet. So I don't want to go to the end of workshop survey. So I'm going to direct all of you to a different place, but know that that is there. Students can also search for an activity if they know the name. So I'm going to come on down here and start taking a look at what we have available here. So this is what we're going to start with. And you might see, okay, she's got a couple of lessons here that are called the same thing. I just added them twice, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit. This very first lesson is exactly as how it comes out of the box if you add the course directly from our course catalog. So in a typical coding lesson from CodeHS, this is what you're going to see. The video comes first, or the content, the lesson content. And I'll actually take you out to that in just a second to show you what you could see there. Then there is this check for understanding quiz, which is a very short quiz typically, because it is just that. It checks for understanding after students have actually gone through the course content, or that lesson content, excuse me. Then there is typically an example. Now, in some of these, you might see a couple of examples. In this first lesson, there's only one because it's a little bit simpler. And then there's an activity, and this is the activity that students will complete to show that, okay, I can do this. I can actually code something. So I'm going to take us out to the video first. Now, if you're in this location, you can click on this. Leah, I think I have included a link to this in the slides. If you spot that, you can also toss a link into chat. You can access any of those links from the teacher side of things. So if it's helpful, especially if you've got younger kids, sometimes it's really nice to grab a link and say, here's the link, or, they can click on it. So if you'd like to come with me, again, we are in structuring websites, introduction to HTML, and we're going to go to this video first. Leah did toss that link into chat as well. And I think I've got it opened. There we go. So when we click on this link, and this is the same view that students are going to see as well. This is what I see as the teacher. This is what students will see too. They're going to come to this video, and this is our lesson content. Now, there's a lot of ways you can do this. We're actually not going to watch the video today, but I encourage you to take a look at the video. I think this is one by one of our engineers, Calvin, maybe, if I remember right. I might be getting that mixed up somewhere along the line. I've listened to a lot of videos today, so I think it's Calvin, but you can absolutely watch the video or have your students watch the video, or right up here at the top, it's a little bit light. I can click between video and slides. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the slides. This is also available. Any teacher can have see these slides in the platform, and you can actually do direct instruction. So if we take a look at this, and I wanted to start here and just start taking a look at, okay, what is HTML? I know we've got some people joining us who don't really have coding experience, and that's totally okay. We're going to take just a quick look at some of these slides. So this is the very first lesson you typically see in HTML. You start learning about, okay, what is HTML? We learn it's the language to build web pages, and we learn about what uses web pages. Facebook, Google, anything on the internet uses HTML, and somebody had to code it. I would highly encourage you to go back and watch this video at a later time. We learned that HTML stands for hypertext markup language, and that really we're talking about all those hyperlinks that are included in web pages, hypertext. And markup language is really how we define or annotate that text to show how it's going to be displayed. So now we're going to learn our very first code for HTML. We're going to learn about HTML tags. HTML tags are what are going to be used to actually mark up our document so that our browser knows how to display something. So HTML tags is going to be a really important concept for us. And this is our first tag. We're going to learn about a header tag, and we're going to learn about header or a heading tag 1. And this is what it looks like at first. We have these arrows, and in between the arrows, we have H1. That's what it's going to look like. And that's the start of our HTML tag. And what we're going to learn is that every HTML tag actually occurs in pairs. And this is what our line of code is going to look like. You can see we have very normal text in the middle of these two tags. We say, hello. That's the text that we're actually marking up. H1, these tags are going to indicate how this text looks on the browser. So we have to have a pair of tags. The first one will look like this. The second one is going to have the slash in it. And don't worry if you're feeling like, all right, Lori, that's already, you're going too fast. It's too much. It's okay. We're going to do an example. All right. So we're going to check this out in the editor. So those are the slides. Definitely take some time to watch that video because the videos are awesome. But I will say that if you start to use CodeHS a lot, it's nice to change things out from the video to the slides, or maybe you have a different way to do the activity as well. So now to get to the next part of this, you can click next. Next is going to be on videos right up here at the top. I'll go ahead and click next so you all see what happens there. So the very next thing that we see is this quiz. It's a video check-in quiz or a lesson check-in quiz. Notice it's only 2 questions. I will say that this does sometimes make students panic. Just panic if they miss one because then they have 50%. So if you do start using CodeHS, you want to think about, well, how do I want to grade these quizzes? Do I want to actually grade them? Because I've seen some panic attacks happen with some of my students who just they missed one and now, oh no, what do I do? But this is a great little check-in quiz. And there's some other ways you can use this as well. We're actually going to skip it for now. If you'd like to take the quiz, you sure can, but we're going to go ahead and skip it. And there's a couple of ways to navigate at this point. If you've taken the quiz, you can click submit, and that'll move you to the next screen. Or down here at the bottom, you're going to see all those activity bubbles again. You're also going to notice they're changing color. So when they're yellow, that indicates that you have been in that screen or that the student has opened that activity. Doesn't necessarily mean they've completed it. Keep that in mind, but it does mean they've opened it. So I can also click on the different activities to navigate. So I don't always have to click submit if I'm not ready to, or maybe I have an error and I can't submit. So I can come down here and click the next bubble. I want us all to go to our first HTML page. It's the very next activity. There's only 4 activities in this very first lesson. So I want to give you an idea of what you're going to see in the code editor if you've never seen it before. So when you first open up an example or an exercise, typically what you're going to see is this pop-up. It says example, our first HTML page. And it's going to give you some instructions or a description about what you're seeing here. This is an example of our first HTML page. It's using one tag. We're just working with one tag right now, the H1 tag. And we can view the block for H1 tag in the formatting section of the blocks. And we can also see and view what this tag is going to do. I'm going to click explore this example in the top right corner of the pop-up. And this is what the CodeHS code editor looks like. And you notice I did set up block coding here. If you would prefer that your students don't use block coding with HTML, you as the teacher can actually shut that off. You do not have to have that on. A lot of times with my introductory sort of classes, I would leave on block coding for HTML or JavaScript. And what I found is kids typically shut it off long before I ever did. They got very tired of looking for the correct block that they needed. And I always told them they can copy and paste their code because if they do it right once, why reinvent the wheel? And it's a lot harder to copy and paste blocks. So, but I wanted to have blocks on so you could see what this is like and see the different groups here. If you want to shut off your code or your block coding, you can come up here to this bar across the top of the code editor and click switch to block or switch to text view and back again. So you can see exactly how that works. You can also come in here and I think we're in the formatting section. and you can drag those blocks out like this. Okay, so that's how you can work that. I'm going to go ahead and switch my block code off. And this is what my text-based coding looks like. So this is the code editor, and this is where I can come in and I can start typing. I will say that I am super slow when it comes to typing HTML just because of the tags, and I'm not used to looking for those arrows. So I do copy paste a lot. You'll notice that that went really fast. That's because we do have an autocomplete as well in this code editor. Now, if you're thinking, all right, Lori, I don't remember any of those commands. What were you talking about? There's a couple of things you can do. You can actually come over here to the right-hand side, and there's a Docs tab where you can click and find more information about this particular activity. So I can click on HTML tags. And right here, I can see exactly what that's supposed to look like. All students have access, excuse me, to that Docs tab. And it's a great way to really encourage some inquiry-based learning. That's one of the things that I really love about, I love about any kind of learning. I love to find ways to have students, really explore and learn from their own questioning processes. And you can do that really easily with CodeHS because they do have some helps here as well to help them figure out this code on their own. So there's the Docs tab. There's also some options over here on the left-hand side where I can open that panel up. I can see the description again here. I can actually navigate from this area as well. And I can create additional files here. I'll go ahead and close it up for now, just to give us a little bit. Maybe I'll close it. Oops. I just clicked on settings. There we go. I have another monitor just right in my way. There we go. So I'll go ahead and make that a little larger, but I can see the example or the assignment directions here too. When I'm ready to run my code, I want to make sure I'm on this Run Code tab. And I can see exactly what I'm trying to print. I would love it. And this is an example. And so there's really nothing you can mess up here. We can always get these things back. I'm going to help myself out. And I'm going to copy and paste a little bit. And let's see what that does. Cool. Now, if I want to experiment, I can come in here and change some of those H1 tags. Because I can tell you there are 6, I think. Oh yeah, Leah already said 6 tags. I should have looked at that. I could have totally cheated and just read your note. 6 different tags. So you can try H1 through H6 and see what all those do. This is a really great place to let kids experiment with this and find out, well, what happens when I do this? And it's great because they're not going to break anything. If they type the wrong code, they type the wrong code. This is a great way to really start encouraging that growth mindset and really a culture of debugging. It's okay to make mistakes. I can promise all of you, I'm going to make mistakes as I'm typing this. So super awesome technique to approach this. Once you're ready, you can click continue and it takes you into the exercise. Now, I know we're getting down there on time and I want to show you just a few other things. You can definitely come back and play with this some more. Here's the exercise. This is where students will actually come in and have to complete something on their own. And they can see the directions over here from the assignment tab. So this is the first lesson as we've laid it out. And that's pretty much all of the coding lessons. We always start with that, with the lesson or the content, a quiz, example, exercise. Now, what we've actually done is, in addition to that, I added that copy of a lesson. So I copied intro to HTML, added it again, and this time I changed it up because you can also do that. If you're thinking, I don't really want that check for understanding quiz where it's at, or maybe I want to move it around, you can do that. Notice in this version, I added something before the video. I added an activity, a class opener. This happens to be a Padlet, and I'll show you in a second. Then after the video, I added an article, and I'll show you what we're going to do there because that's really cool. And then I added an exercise. And notice my check for understanding way down here at the bottom. That's because I moved it. And I didn't do anything special just because I work for CodeHS. I did the exact same thing. All of you can do too. Then I took away an exercise that I didn't want students to do. So I just removed it. If you're a free teacher, you can delete anything out of these. Oops, too many clicks, Lori. There we go. So I'm going to jump back out here. Now, if you're thinking, well, how do I get back to this? Sorry, I have a dog who just sneezed and scared the life out of me. You're okay, buddy. You're thinking, how do I get back to this? If you are still looking at this from, oops, wrong lesson, from this area, you can certainly click continue or come back down to, I'm trying to zoom in. I'm all flustered now that my dog sneezed, just crazy. You can actually navigate from this area too. And you can click on this very first class opener, and I'd love it if you could do that. So let's click on class opener. If you're back on this student page, you can just simply come down and click on it from here. So whichever way you want to navigate is totally fine with me. So go ahead and click on the class opener. It's Padlet. I love Padlet. I use the free version all the time as a teacher. You can absolutely embed a Padlet. You can embed Flipgrid. You can embed Quizlets. If one of my most recent favorite things ever is the app Genially. You can do the coolest things with that, and you can embed Genially's into, or those products into CodeHS. If you'd like to, and I'd love it if somebody's out there, please go ahead, and if it lets you, go ahead and add a post to the Padlet. What is HTML? It's okay if you don't even want to answer the question. You can just say, hey, this is cool. I'm good with that. So if you'd like to add something, go ahead.
Lori, can you show us how to get there again, please?
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. So I think if you are in that first lesson that we went through, come down to the bottom of your screen. Your first lesson is right here. If you click on this second little kind of light bulb icon, if you mouse over it, it says Intro to HTML Modified. You can open it and then click on the very first activity there. Does that help? Cool. And I think, yep, I think Leah just tossed a link in to chat for it too. So I'll take you right there. Awesome. HTML marks up web pages and stands for hypertext markup language. Woo, good job. I need to put the little thing so I can put a like on it. I don't think I did that yet. But super easy way to just put everything into one place. So that way students don't have to go to these other apps. They can just do it from here. This does actually refresh pretty quickly too. I will say, since I'm on Zoom, it's a little bit cranky with me, but that's okay. So pretty cool option. Now I did leave you can click continue to get to the video. I did leave the video in there. So you can certainly click on continue. The next thing it would do would take us to the video. We're not going to go through that again. So I'm just going to click on next. The next thing that I actually added here, and this is something that I actually do want to show you. So I want us all to try it because it's really cool. I added a Google Doc. And you're thinking, okay, great. Click on the link below to join the Sandbox. Lori, there's no link. I'm going to show you something really awesome. This is going to be a pretty fast demo, but I just want to show you how to do this. In CodeHS, there's a Sandbox. This is a completely separate area where you can actually create your own programs. Students also have their own sandboxes. I'm going to go ahead and create a program called Hello World. And I'm going to click Create Program. And I want it to be an HTML program because we're talking about web design. I'm going to create it. And it's going to take just a second. This really does go much faster when I'm not on Zoom. So sorry about that, everybody. So this is my sandbox. This is totally separate from activities. This is someplace where I can come in and be as creative as I want to be. You'll see I've already got one tag here. I can run it. And you're thinking, okay, so what? What about this sandbox that you created? Well, I can now share this sandbox. So if I click on share, I can share the code, I can share the app, I can embed it, or I can come to this amazing tab here, collaborate. I'm going to click on copy. And then I'm going to come over to chat. I'm going to toss that into chat. And I would love it if you could please click on that link for me. Right now, what I see is my little icon right here on my screen. Hi, Jason. Welcome to my sandbox. Hi, Leah. Hi, Amber. All right. Everybody, go ahead and type. You can copy and paste that H1 tag. You can just type anything if you want. If you're feeling like I'm not ready to do this. Yes, I love it. Every single time we do this, I just get excited. It's so cool. Look at Jason, it's being sneaky. I like it. Jason, that's my brother's name. And I feel like, yeah, that just seems right. That'd be the kind of thing he would write to me. I love it. It's so cool. And you can run this on your end. So you can easily set these up as the teacher. Students can set these up if you want students to collaborate in individual groups. Super easy thing to do. Now, the cool thing is we all had chat, so I could toss it into there. But what I could also do is to actually drop that link into that Google Doc. And if you go back and look at that Google Doc again that I had embedded, you will see that collaborate link there. Oh, Leah's getting fancy. Leah, I don't even remember that. I'd have to double check my hrefs. She's being all cool, but this is the kind of stuff you can do. It's amazing. And that, let me run it. Is it ready? Let's just see. I totally lost my mouse. There it is. I can't click it. It's sad. It's being cranky. It might just be Zoom though. It's more than likely Zoom. Okay, so cool though. Amazing. And you can see exactly who's doing what. Now, I will say, if I close this collaborate session, it will give all of you the opportunity to go ahead and make a copy of this. It's going to say, do you want to fork a copy? If you're not sure what that means, all it means is you're going to make a copy for yourself and you'll have it in your sandbox. If you want to start a new collaborate session, you would go through that same process of clicking share, collaborate, and sharing that link. I'm not going to close it because this is awesome. I'm just going to leave it open for a while. So pretty cool. This is one of our favorite tools that really came out during the midst of the pandemic because we knew we need a way for people to collaborate. We need a way for kids to collaborate. And even in the climate that we're still in now, you know, we probably still want to do a little bit of social distancing depending on our situations, right? This is still an awesome option for that. So cool. I seriously get so excited watching this stuff. I'm thrilled. She added a picture. Leah, you're so fancy. That's so cool. But look at the stuff you can do. And you can make more than one page if you like. So if you need more information on Collaborate, definitely let us know. We'd be happy to talk through that and show you more info about that. All right, so I'm all excited. I don't know where my tabs are. Okay, let me jump back over to our lesson. Oops, I have just craziness and insanity going on. Where's my modified lesson? There we go. So you'll notice I did add that link here. And so that's one really easy way when you're just in the classroom to share those long, ugly links. If you're making them on the spot, add a Google Doc to your lesson and you can share them that way. Now, there's a few other things here. I actually added an exercise here as well called Match My Code. You can absolutely add all of those on your own. Super, super easy to do. All right, I'm going to jump back out here just because we are getting down to time. And I want to just show you one other thing. There's definitely lots of ways to use those lesson components, pull those in to fit whatever your needs are. This is exactly why I can do this with ECS or with the Exploring Computer Science curriculum. It's because if there was something in there that I could use, great. If I wanted to add something from another curriculum, I could do that too. So just a few examples of how you can use all of those things in different ways. I did put a link in here to the lesson plans. Now, this one is a pro feature, but this is just the lesson plans. This does not impact your access to any of the activities. This is just that actual plan itself. Oh, and by the way, you do all have the answers as free teachers. We do not take that away from you. You have all the solutions. So one other thing I want to show you before we leave, the CodeHS.me pages. So this is free. All teachers and all students have access to a page or a place where you can actually host a site directly in CodeHS. And I just showed you a little example of what you might have to do to get this started. You do have to have a username that doesn't have any other symbols besides letters. So if you have your email address, like I did, you're just going to change that. So that way it does not have any of those extra letters in it. To get to the personal home pages, you're going to go to your Sandbox again. To get to the Sandbox, let me show you. Always in the top left corner of CodeHS, you're going to see a link for Sandbox. You can also go to codehs.com/sandbox and it'll take you there as well. Once you're in your Sandbox, edit homepage. If you need to change your username, it's going to give you a little pop-up there and you can just change it and get rid of any of those extra characters. And here's my web page. This is how I'll access my page, laurieteacher.codehs.me. Super cool way to not just teach kids what HTML is and how to build with HTML inside of a restricted code editor. You can actually have them create real web pages. They can create an entire portfolio that can follow them through their school career using CodeHS here. All right, so I talked really fast at the end. Does anybody have any questions? I know this is a ton of info, but we definitely have our contact info on the slides as well. If you've got questions, don't hesitate to let us know. We are more than happy to help you get started and really feel comfortable at least using CodeHS. And if you really want to expand your own coding knowledge, you can definitely also enroll in any of those classes. Maybe you just want to learn web design. It's a great one to start with. Go ahead and enroll in one and practice. Great way to do it. So we have a few other resources for you. I know Amber just tossed in a link into chat for you as well. So definitely check out these. You will have access to the slides. And we do have a survey as well that we'd love to hear your feedback and love to hear what else we can do for you. We love working with teachers. And so let us know, what else can we do? Amber, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and toss this back over to you.
Lori, thank you so much. I don't know, I think I would want to have you or Leah as like my personal tutor as I continue to go through. But wow, the resources, and I love the way that, like, I love the way that Leah could share the links directly to the lessons within the chat. Like, that is so huge, because I feel like a lot of LMSs, you know, or other platforms don't allow for that. And I think that's so, I mean, just thinking about, you know, our diversity of learners, just that little thing, how important that could be. But wow, I am blown away by the resources, material, and how building this in CodeHS can occur. I was going back and forth in the chat window about several different ideas with some of our attendees as well. So this is phenomenal. And we would love to have you join us. I believe Leah is going to be back with another CodeHS presenter, I believe November 17th. Is that correct, Leah? Do you remember right off the top of your head? Yes. So please join us again for round 2 with CodeHS, November 17th. And they are a phenomenal group, so don't hesitate to reach out directly to them either. They're a wonderful resource and wonderful support as all of us enter this world of coding and developing our own skills. So Thank you so much for joining us. I did put the link for the PDHs in the chat. So please make sure that you get that filled out. And we'll see you in another week and in another few weeks with CodeHS. Lori and Leah, thank you so much for joining us.